Sit back, relax. Try to maintain your composure. You are about to become connected.
Welcome to the Connect Podcast, episode 26. You sexy bitches, and we are here today with Shaun and Tess. Lately, it's been a lot of just Shaun and Tess, and I think it works better like that, you know, because
we don't like to hear anyone else's opinions. It makes us feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes us feel uncomfortable with our own mindset, you know. Keep that shit to yourself.
Hang out with people with like-minded, so you don't have to be made to feel like, you know, you need to broaden your horizons.
Which is pretty hard. I don't really like anyone else's mind apart from my own.
We're joking.
Well, you might be. But no, look, you know, we thought, it's been a while, sorry guys, for all you avid listeners. It's like, you know, a few people that tune in every single, quite more than a handful of people that just regularly tune in every single podcast, and thank you very much. We very much appreciate it.
I'd love to hear from you in person. We're going to put some faces and names to these figures.
Yeah, definitely. Post on our Facebook page. Do whatever you need to do. You know, live your life. Don't let us, you know, constrict you or in any way. But
today we're going
to go into a situation which I think is very relevant, and coming from what is said by a lot of people in that. Look at this cat.
She just did the most funny move. Did you see that?
She's like just looking around going...
No, she did a little shake.
I think, so anyway, cat always interrupts this podcast. All right, it's worth it. She's all right. She's a good cat. So anyway, so the situation, the information that we're going to talk about today, I think is very important. Coming from a lot of very reputable sources of people who devote their life to this particular topic around the world, they're saying that disclosure will happen this year or next year, and that disclosure, the highest levels, government, proper Western, the facts are the facts, and discounted. So without further to-do.
Okay, cool.
We're going to talk about some extraterrestrial activity. We've already done a podcast on UFOs.
Extra-dimensional, extraterrestrial, whatever.
Yeah, well, that's
people who are foreign to our world.
That's an important point. Extraterrestrial / extra-dimensional is
those who dwell in other realities.
Well, it's very important to make that distinction. If you consider the human as just an antenna that picks up signals, and some people can pick up other signals, and some people can't.
Or even if you just simply have the understanding that we only have 5 senses, and there are probably many more out there to be perceived and realities to live within, which we just simply don't have the ability to look at. So we're considering those options.
I was going to try and look it up before, but I didn't. So I'll say it anyway. David Icke, and like when I say people around the world, I've listened to a podcast on David Wilcock, and he said that there are, I've said this probably before, but there are Western governments that have actually booked in airtime this year, booked in prime time airtime in every radio station, every country around the world, to disclose the facts that aliens live on this earth with us, and they have been visiting the earth and being part of the human race, and in the highest echelons of government to the lowest, to, you know, for quite a long time, if not the whole history of the human race. And so that they're saying that disclosure is going to happen sooner or later, and these people that actually completely devote their life to this sort of stuff know the people who are going to do this sort of thing and have the insider information, which I find fucking ridiculous. Like, I think it'd just have to get to a point where there are so many UFO sightings or so many, like, basically abductions or something like that, there was absolutely no two ways of questioning the fact that aliens exist.
It seems to me like it's already kind of the case. I can't believe that it's... That's what happens when you're cruel to animals, Shaun.
Continue.
Yeah. There are so many sightings of UFOs and so many images of UFOs in ancient scriptures, and like just where the history of humanity is laced with UFO experiences and alien encounters of some sort. Whether that be talking about, I think it's really important to put together in the same category anything like the supernatural and the super technological. I think is one thing really, because when you're at a point where you don't understand technologies that are more highly evolved, they seem supernatural. So we might as well put everything in the same category. Yeah. It's all so when we look at back through time, we have like a Bible which is just riddled with stories of contact with people, with firebolts and parting the Red Seas and like seeing things in the sky.
Really trippy thing on YouTube the other day. It was like, this 1930s or 1920s video, like before World War One or something the date was, and this lady is walking through this crowd, and it's just when cameras were invented. So like, 1930s, and this lady is walking through this crowd. She was on a fucking boat, and there was basically she was talking into a device in her hand. Like in the 1920s,
oh, really?
And they say the title was YouTube video. The title was 100% real proof time travel exists.
Yeah.
And this lady was dressed completely differently to everyone else. Everyone was wearing these old school drapes and this and that, and then she was dressed completely differently. It was black and white, and she had a device up to her mouth, and the camera wasn't focused on her at all, but she was just walking through when it was focused on all these other ladies.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, in the 1920s. And even YouTube is good. Like, you can go up to, let's say, what's the date? It's April. You type in April or even March 2013. March, if month by month, it will go. There's people that upload UFO sightings that happen up to date all around the world, month by month, and these videos go for like 20 minutes of like 2 1-minute sort of UFO bits, like just 20 different UFOs that have been seen in that month all around the world. And and these things are, they're basically just small lights in the sky, like, you know what I mean? When I think of UFO, my brain doesn't think a big disc or something. My brain thinks lights, that have something invisible that's attached to them. That's what my brain thinks.
But I think UFOs is just one little tiny component of the whole topic. All it is just the flying vehicles in which they use to get around when they're presenting themselves in the physical world that we live in, which they're deliberately entering for whatever reason that is. So we have to look at, like, the UFOs, they're only there because they need something. They need to be in this world for some reason. And that's why I brought up the point to you the other day, like, why aren't there, like, unidentified floating objects or, like, unidentified walking objects? Other things where we have things that we are unable to explain using our usual reality. Why are they only flying? I think that's a really good point. And then I found a documentary on unidentified submerged objects, which talked all about how there's been heaps of USO sightings by the Navy all through the last 100 years, especially during the wars. There was lots of sightings.
What things that are just at the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, well, they said that there was at one point and it's documented, like it's in the history records of the Navy, of the US Navy. They found they had on radar a huge, I guess a submarine type vehicle, I don't know, travelling at 150 knots, which I think is like quite fast for that.
Yeah, so that's fucking real.
Yeah. I don't know anything about boats, so but at 20 20,000 feet below sea level, so that's like 7 k's, which is pretty much the deepest.
I
think
so
7 k's
funny.
is the deepest.
It's so funny that our planet has fucking 80% like water on it and 20% land or something like whatever 30, and fucking we're like you don't think of what's going on in these massive oceans, massive expanse of oceans. We're just concerned about what's going on the planet. We can't even manage for the people who live on 20% of the surface area of the planet properly. We can't even manage that. Imagine if it was all like there was like hardly any water and it was just all land and
the mysteries of the ocean are like, we know that we don't know much about it, especially there are places like I just said, like 7 or 8 kilometers deep, which I think the Marianas Trench is like the deepest part. That's what it's called, and we don't know anything about what goes on down there because we can't get down there. I think wasn't what's his name, Richard Branson building he was building a spaceship but also building a submarine to get down to those deepest parts. I mean, that's as tall as Mount Everest and stuff, so that's frightening. And we can find a lot of videos as well on YouTube for USOs. There's a lot of videos and accounts where UFOs have come out of the water. There's been like a big...
There was that one lately in... where was it? It was just in... was it Persia? Well, sorry.
Persia doesn't exist anymore.
No. I class Iran as Persia now. The
Ottoman Empire.
Yeah. I relate them to that. No, it was in a strait... the Baltic Sea. No, so I was way off. The Baltic Sea. There was a fucking a thing that looked like the Millennium Falcon at the bottom of the ocean.
What's a
proper like it wasn't stone. It was a metal-like object. Did you know Star Wars? The Millennium Falcon, the ship with a round back and like the two bits at the front.
No, I don't know.
You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I don't know what you
anyway, everyone else listening would know what the Millennium Falcon is. But that was at the bottom of the ocean. They got proper pictures, footage of this metal object that is just sitting at the bottom of the ocean, and they every time that they tried to send down a machine diver down to a machine, because it's so deep that it's shut out, all the cameras blacked out, and it's emitting some sort of fucking
electromagnetic pulse or something like the Matrix.
But isn't it crazy? Especially when you want to get into it, you want to open your mind and free your mind and get into this sort of stuff. How me and Tess were saying the other day, like we just talk consistently about this sort of stuff. This is just like normal sort of dinner conversation. So these podcasts, it's just sometimes we press record when we're having these conversations. But isn't it crazy how, when you talk about and you revolve your life around trying to get to the bottom of what's actually going on, what we're not told and all that, how much shit is going on everywhere. Like, ignorance is fucking bliss, because like your brain has to switch into this fucking crazy different sort of way of being able to describe what is actually happening, not what is visually happening or senses, touch, taste, whatever happening, but like what is actually happening through what you know from science or evolution, or through what you know from all the different facets of everything that you've learned in your life, and not just relying on the superficial nature of work, home, job, fucking go home. But when you start thinking about the world in the sense of this tree is connected to this, which is doing this, which actually might there's a good chance it might have its own consciousness, which then is connected to me in somehow, and then therefore that when I touch this tree, I sort of feel a bit of a connection between me and that tree, because we are both sharing this reality or this dimension in this certain way. And then when I dream at night, I do this and I do that. And then when you have to start thinking about the world, and fucking shit gets fucking shit, your brain, you're never bored. Let's just put it that way.
Well, definitely. But I thought you were going to go down the other way, where you're thinking so much about what is actually taking place, in history, what actually happened, and what's actually happening now? What are people's intentions? What's the manipulations and conspiracies that are actually going on? Like,
it's all relevant.
I just feel like we're never ever. It's so complicated, and the problem is that when you do get down this rabbit hole, as soon as the more things that your mind opens to, the more complicated it gets, and the more possibilities there are of how it actually is, and especially when. That's why I love this alien topic so much, because to me it connects a lot of the dots and it really explains how everything is actually fits together. And the thing with the alien thing, it's, you know, when you start to, not just with aliens, but with a few topics, once you've started accepting things like, I'm just going to say magic, or things like, you know, sensory or perception manipulation, or just understanding that actually anything could be possible.
Yeah, anything.
Then it's like, there is fucking no way you're ever... It's so hard to figure out what's going on.
That's why I dislike some of our education procedures. I dislike... when ego is brought into things, and you see amazing minds, amazing people. We know them, we've seen them, and these people, and it's so hard to break down the ego. It's so hard for them to get over the fact that what they know may not actually be exactly what is going on.
Exactly.
Or not only that, but it's like also the education process when you go through school. Okay, guys, this is what happened. This is bang, 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 bang. And you might go to school in another part of the world. It's like, well, this is what happened. Yeah. It's completely different. Or then, you know, you might go to school in a Catholic or a Christian, and it's sort of like, well, you know, you're not told, well, we sort of know this is what happened. These are the 3 or 4 different options. Okay, you guys have to fill in the dots because this is all we know. Not like fucking, this is your way of thinking. That's it. You're done for this for your life in this way. You know what I mean? And that's disappointing because you watch a fucking one random documentary on Egypt, and you automatically know that there is questions there that could fundamentally, if it was proven or true, that could fundamentally change the way that we look as history as a whole. Yeah. Like, just a few minor points, like how the fuck were the pyramids made? Well,
exactly.
About that.
And why were they positioned in such in those locations? And the pyramids are actually placed in the direct reflection of a few stars in Orion.
Sure, yeah.
And like and the same goes with the mounds in Stonehenge. They're all, and they say that they're, in regards to the alien topic, they say that, you know, the pyramids are built to as a signpost to the other, you know, people or things looking at Earth, as a thing to say the people who are inhabiting this planet are actually from your star system, or you know, and so that suggests then that we're actually not from Earth originally. We are from, you know, there are so many different little theories, and
I'm so willing to go down the path. I'm 150% willing now to go, after being brought up in a very Catholic-based family and having to go to mass many times a fucking week most of the time, and understanding that, scrapping that belief system because it didn't work after I started reading books, and then no, let me continue, and then after that, now like to the point of going through all my educational learning, fucking whatever's been happening in the past couple of years, I'm very much considering now that we have the human species has come here on an asteroid somehow. An asteroid's hit the Earth and we've been little microbes, and then we've grown, or the fact that we have had some sort of helping hand by some sort of extraterrestrial being at some point.
Or we've actually been genetically created as workers for an alien species.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a theory.
Absolutely. Or even the fact that or us as a monkey species has ingested an alien plant form which has expanded our brain. Psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah.
So psilocybin has come on an asteroid, mushrooms, and then they've hit. We've eaten an alien thing that's not native to our planet. And then that has expanded our brains in ways that we couldn't even fucking imagine. And look at us now.
Yeah.
We're about to kill each other with nuclear weapons.
Well, yeah, maybe. But I reckon that doesn't explain the missing link, though. And then I think the missing link is one of those things where the alien topic, again, just nicely fits in, nicely solves that one. Right. It nicely solves the missing link problem with evolution. So...
Sorry if we're getting away from you guys.
This is
listening.
pretty hardcore stuff.
We're just going off on our little tangent. Just try and hold on.
Yeah, just hold on. It's but it's so much fun thinking about this stuff. But I think
this is my favourite topic. This is it. Absolutely.
It's my favourite topic. I beg your pardon.
I don't believe you. No. This is definitely. This is both of our favourite topics.
Okay.
Well, the economic system. I'll definitely throw the economic system in there. That's my most aggressive topic. But this is my. I hate like we're talking about before. It hurts my feelings when people say, "So what if fucking aliens exist? So what?" Can you imagine every single thing that causes you harm, effort, pain, being able to be eradicated through the fact of technology which we don't have yet, or which is being held back because of a corrupt operating system?
Well, that's just one thing, though, that the mixing of cultures between aliens and humans is going to bring. That's just one thing.
Well, I mean, okay, so now let me rope it into the fact that why is it now essential that, like I said, if, there's a hypothetical that a high figure from the American government or something does get on TV and goes, aliens exist, it's time for you to know, then why is it now that they have to do that?
So I think it is very important to look at the reasons why the secrecy has remained, and it seems that it's been going on for thousands of years.
Certainly.
As soon as I reckon since Jesus times, I think that's when the secrecy began. Because it's been going off that long. So I think it's really important to look at why that would be, because it seems obvious that there is some powers that are trying to keep it under wraps, and whether that be, I think the strategies that they're using to keep it under wraps, I think are pretty far entrenched, to the point of influencing our minds and trying to get us focused on the daily shit. I think it's all intertwined with how the economy and daily life takes up all our energy, where we don't even care about the fact that on YouTube there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of UFO sighting videos.
Yeah.
And things like, there was there's been so many.
80% are fucked. Let's say 80% are bullshit.
But I just don't think that.
No, they're not.
Why the fuck would they be fucked?
This is the thing. For someone to be able to throw out, I was just playing devil's advocate, for someone to throw out a blanket statement like that, most of that is bullshit.
How do you know, though? You don't know that. There is no way that person can know that. They're just saying that because they're trying to... I love the way that Joe Rogan said this. He's like, everyone wants to call bullshit. Be the first one to call bullshit, because that's the really comfortable place to be. Yeah. No one wants to be duped. No one wants to be a fool. So everyone's always trying to fucking call bullshit as soon as they can. Yeah. And no one has the guts to go and actually think that maybe it's possible. But the thing with the SVD is you don't know that that's not the case.
It's much easier to be a skeptic than it is to be
fucking it's easy to be a skeptic
than it is to be a creator.
You just say everything's bullshit.
Leader or a creator. Everyone, including Jesus, including Martin Luther King, everyone is called crazy to start with. You know what I mean? And the fact that we're even talking about this in terms such as this, why people listening would be like, well, fucking, they seem pretty convinced, and I'm not convinced. It is, but I
nearly am.
I'm not convinced.
I am.
It is now just part of my daily routine. I actually sometimes look for aliens.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
No, but I don't look at them. When I say I don't get me wrong, I don't look for little green men running around. Aliens are another, just like humans. They look exactly the same as humans. An alien doesn't have to be actually a little grey alien.
They can present themselves however they want. I think that's the big thing here for me, is that when you start looking at things from reality is just what your senses are telling you, then anything is possible. And to the point where you look back at, Jesus's miracles and skills that he had, and where he would be able to turn water into wine. It's like, well, scientists would say that's impossible because physically, in the physical world,
you could probably do it now.
It's impossible to, with your mind.
No, you need.
See, what I'm trying to say is that these things that seem impossible to us, given our way that we explain our physical realm, which at the moment is science, that's the religion that we're using at the moment, things of the supernatural and magical type things, they seem impossible. But when you flip that and you go, okay, perhaps it's not the water that's changing, it's my mind that's actually changing. So it's like Jesus has actually said to you, he's made it so that you see wine in that cup, and you taste wine in that cup. So it's changing perception. It's not actually changing the physical thing, because that's impossible, because this world is governed by certain laws which are, you can't bypass those. So I think the most reasonable way to get around those laws would be to be controlling perception and your senses, and I think that will be a lot of the ways that aliens, supernatural beings, spirits, extraterrestrials, extra-dimensionals, that's the world that they have become masters at, I reckon. And that's how that we aren't, because we don't get that world. We've shunned it away, given our science, the science situation at the moment. We aren't open to that, and I think they are masters of cutting through the space-time thing, and so they're able to show us all of a sudden, I'm going to make myself appear to you in the sky as a unidentified flying object which is shiny, and they choose you to see that. And the same, they can they put themselves in front of you and they choose you to see their body or their physical form as a human. That's up to them. They manipulate your senses and perception. I think that makes more sense.
Yeah, well, I like the sound of that, but the situation still remains is where my theory comes back into play. And my theory is if you ever do reach to the stage of evolution, where you are starting to be able to manipulate space-time and also manipulate maybe matter in the form of materializing and dematerializing, then no longer do you have violence.
I just simply don't agree with that.
Yeah, well, no longer because why the fuck if they were a violent or a negative species and they were just feeding off hate and fear and destruction, would they even give two shits about you letting them see you or not? They'll just come and fuck you. They'll just come and fucking rape and pillage and do whatever they fucking want.
I'm sure that they have many ways of getting what it is that they need, and the world that they dwell in, just because it's a world that to us seems more highly evolved, and you have to be very spiritual and loving to understand these things. Like, bullshit, for them that's the world they dwell in, and that doesn't mean anything for good and bad. Like, good and bad is an opinion, it's a state of mind, it's how you feel about your actions. There's no universal good and bad. Like, they are just living in their little realm and they're doing what they have to do, and if they're intelligent, they may be using all the tools at their disposal, like altering perceptions, to be able to get what they need, and they may have plans that
might be the case, but I'm just not up enough on the afterlife to be able to tell you whether there is a good and evil, because I believe I know a little bit of the fundamentals of sort of what happens when you die, a tiny bit, probably more than the most people out there, but the situation remains is that when you harm someone else, I believe, and to a fairly significant extent, you harm the energy or their soul, which creates them and which you foster through eternity. So I've got to be able to say that if you've got these people with high advanced technology going around harming people for fun or because that's just their way of life, then I honestly don't believe that is something that is happening all around the universe. I think it's such a primitive way to look at.
But how is that any different from us? Harvesting chickens.
We're fucking trying to evolve out of it.
No, what do you mean? Like, we're not going to eat meat anymore?
No.
We're not going to kill a life. We're not going to kill a plant.
If you want to go down that road, then I don't believe you'd have to eat in it when you evolve to a certain point.
Oh, that's silly.
No. And if that's the way you want to look at things, I don't believe you have to eat once we get the technology to be able to feed directly from the sun, which is our energy source. Okay, food is not our energy source. The sun is our energy source. Food is another form of the energy which creates the sun, makes the food. If there's no sun, there is no food. So sun is the energy source. So when we start to be able to feed off the sun, then there is no need for food. So we don't have to harm any plants. We don't have to harm any animals. Okay, so
But are we harming the sun? You know, like where do you
stop?
No,
because the sun is eternal. Well, the life. We're not harming the sun because it's coming down. Now, a plant is made to live, sprout out of the ground and grow up. And then when you chop that down, whatever consciousness that plant has harms it, and it harms everything around it. It's part of its biodiversity, part of the ecosystem.
It is, and I think an ecosystem only functions if every part of it is doing its bit in terms of being a predator or prey.
Even to the point, also, okay, maybe we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but evolving to the point where there is no need to put animals in a small cage for their whole life.
Okay, sure, but then you haven't got out of the argument at all, because how is that any different from us? So we need to make ourselves feel better about how we're consuming other life creatures. So we try and give them a good life, and we think that that's a good thing. So we're good now. We're good people.
Yep.
How is that any different from aliens coming up with their, or other beings that are our predators, coming up with ways to make us think that we've got a good life and everything's fine, and giving us the happiest of existences up until the point at which they feed off us or whatever it is. How is that any different?
Are they eating us?
Well, whatever their purpose is, if they are above us and they require us for their existence in some way.
I think it's a flawed argument, because you've got the fact that, okay, if a chicken gets born, they just get born. Let's say a chicken or a horse or a cow, fucking whatever. They just get born in the wild. Okay, they go and get born, or they get born in a big old fucking paddock and they have all the room to run around and do whatever the fuck they want. They're eating natural, they're doing everything naturally. They're off by themselves. And then one day, someone goes, okay, it's time for you to get eaten. And you've had a good life, no one's interfered with you, everyone's looked after you, you've had all the treatment that you could deserve.
Yeah.
And you've had a perfect life, a completely natural life. So then someone comes along and, hopefully in the most humane way possible, that animal dies. Okay. And then it gets eaten and completely and utterly used for everything we could possibly use it for, so nothing wasted, okay, nothing thrown out. So when you say something about an alien, this happening to the same point from an alien, a higher being...
I don't know, I don't mean that that's the only option. I have no idea whether or not they're...
But once again, they're living in a completely natural environment with the possibility to live a completely natural life, when we don't and we aren't. Now, we're not living in any sort of completely natural environment.
But what's natural, and why is that even an issue? The whole natural, not natural thing?
I mean, with every possibility, because the beauty about nature, and this is why the human race has probably gotten to such a destructive and a confused state, is the beauty about nature is that nature allows an animal a limited amount of stress to be had during its life, because that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So there's no real right or wrong, whatever. It's eat or be eaten, and it's just continue. I need food, then I sleep, then I wake up, then I get food, sleep, wake up, and that is their life. For better or worse, they don't have stress, they don't have artificial needs or wants, or they don't need to consume anything that's unnecessary. They just eat, they sleep, they wake up.
They don't have a conscience.
They don't have,
because they don't think about good and evil.
I think they do have a conscience.
No, they don't.
I don't think it's about good and evil. I don't think it's about good and evil. I think it's about... I believe they are self-aware, and I believe some animals are, but I think that they, to the point that they don't, we have constructed this world in a way where we don't experience that anymore. This is no longer something that the majority of the human race experiences. There is, you take your pills if you're not happy. You do this. You turn up to your job. You fucking, you sit in traffic. You come home, you don't spend time with your kids. You do this. You do that, and you get drunk, and all this sort of stuff. Through the pursuit of what we need to do when we're outside of work, it has become, or what we're doing while we're at work, these two fundamental parts of the human existence, it's turned into an artificial existence.
Well, I think the only really thing you can relate the natural question to anything would be what is natural to our biology and what is natural to our human nature.
So that's even more artificial than what we're dealing with.
So our bodies aren't built for the amount of sugar we're eating, for example. No. Our bodies aren't built for the amount of sitting around we're doing. Our bodies aren't. And that's not because it's not the right thing to do or good or bad. It's natural isn't about good or bad. It shouldn't be about if it's not natural, it's bad. If it's natural, it's good. I don't think that's all it's saying is that it's not something that your species has come accustomed to in a evolutionary process over time, which has remained in balance with its ecosystem or something like that.
Well, are we animals or aren't we? We're animals.
Yeah.
We are. So if we're animals, therefore the baseline of what I'm talking about, the baseline has got to be the fact that we can that we need to be able to go, what's the fundamentals? That's eat, sleep, and basically that's it. That's once again that's natural.
Definitely.
That's natural. Okay, but eat, sleep, sun comes up, sun goes down. That's natural, and then everything else that comes with living in the environment in which you're in, and the environment in the fact of how we lived for millions of years as monkeys, as animals, and that is the baseline. Now, whatever's happened in the past sort of 2 or 3, 4, 500 years, okay, now that's a minuscule amount compared to what we're used to, what's happened. That's why we've got 1 and 2 people now get cancer.
Exactly. So that's what I meant when
AIDS epidemics.
That's what I meant when you can say that because the environment that we are now putting ourselves in isn't natural to our biology or our human nature. It's not. It doesn't match with that. Then that's when you've got to start seeing that things could be going not in the best direction for us, for our ecosystem, because we're not operating within our ecosystem in a way that is functional with everything and with what we've become accustomed to, the type of lifestyle that we should be living.
Yeah. Well, if we were to continue down the road we're living in, a lifestyle which, let's say aliens ran the economic system, okay, and ran the consumerist-driven, consume the Earth's resources. You're consuming your way out of existence, basically. So, yeah, that would make sense. Okay, just like how we consume chickens, put them in a small cage, lock the fuckers up, and then when it's your time to die. You've served your purpose. I've made my money off you. Bang, catch ya. And so, if aliens were running the economic system, that means do your job, lock you in, you get your 2 days off a week, live your life in that time, and then fucking get back.
Well, the Matrix.
Yes, Matrix.
That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really. And that's I think.
Whoever made that film, I would kiss that person. Whoever that is, I would give them a hug. And
for me, that was monumental. Like in 2010, I was just like, the Matrix is actually right.
I can't even imagine. Well, even
in
now,
so many ways.
There's computer code. There are scientists, there are nanoscientists, and also quantum
physicists, mechanics.
Yeah, I think it's physicists. I don't think it is. Anyway,
theorists.
Yeah, theorists.
They're physicists.
Yeah, well, still same thing. But they're saying that the more they break it down, they see a lot of ones and zeros. They see computer code written in the fabric of reality.
The way I look at that is that's just
that's only what we've got in our head.
That's the eyes that we're looking through. And because at the moment we're at the height or whatever, we've just been going down this path of science and maths and logic and reason and all these. And so that's the world, those are the eyes that we're looking through at the moment. So, of course, we're going to find things that match with that. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Doesn't mean that that's the be-all and end-all. No, it's not. That's the only way to look at things.
It's not. But, the only stuff with that is okay, is that going to allow me to have more time with friends and family? Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Is that going to make me be able to contribute to society 2 days a week instead of fucking 60 hours?
Well, I think that's why I think it's important. Like, you're right, and this time, though, the alien issue will, I believe, impact all those things. So let's think about all the reasons as to why it's being kept a secret. And I think the main reason is religion. Because from what I have gathered, and I'm leaning more and more into having a little theory about how everything fits in. And it seems that, like I was saying before, spirits and extra-dimensional, extraterrestrials, whatever, people who are foreign to our reality are all one thing, and they've been with us for thousands and thousands of years. If you look in all the ancient scripts and tablets, and there's so many accounts of representations of UFOs, like metal objects, or spacesuits, or
I mean, we're missing the major thing. Just a recent disclosure of the small alien body that Stephen Greer has released. Like, there's literally been... Look it up. People listening. There is a small alien body which does not have human DNA in it and has been conclusively categorised by some of the leading DNA experts in the world. There is an actual alien body, a small one, a tiny. I think it's like 5 inches or something, 6 inches. Yeah. And they've done tests on it, and it's not human DNA. That's in the world. It was found in Chile right at this moment.
But unless the people are ready to believe that, we're going to debunk it in some way. They're going to find a way to debunk it because we're not. Yeah. It's not a matter of truth. It's a matter of what people want to believe. Yeah. That's why we're still at this point, no matter how much evidence is out there or people's accounts. Until people are willing to accept that it could be a possibility, we're never going to get to that point. So religion, I think, is the massive reason. Because if, let's say that, fine, there are beings that dwell in realities that we can't perceive in extra dimensions, or they're able to time travel, space travel. They have abilities that we can't understand with either science or anything. What is that going to mean for the current established religions? That's going to mean that perhaps, these realities exist and that every individual has these powers within them as well, or that God actually doesn't exist, or that God is an alien. God could just be an alien, which it seems to me like that's very likely.
Would that be bad? If God ended up being an alien, let's say there was one particular alien and lived for fucking millions of years, and let's just put everything that we know about God into an actual being that lives in another galaxy, and he comes back. Is that actually is that bad? Just because he doesn't have white hair and he's whatever. Let's say it's just this really tall fucking alien looking thing, and he's like, and then just proves unequivocally, scientifically, and he gets peer reviewed that he actually created Earth and the surrounding universe, and he created everything that we know, breathe, and touch, and he's done it many different places around the infinite fucking amount of space. And would that be that bad?
I don't know. Would it change anything?
Well, I mean, and his name was actually God.
Yeah.
Like that. I
guess it's just replacing one thing with the other. Would that make a difference? I don't know.
Well, I mean, but because God doesn't necessarily have a face, does he? Does he? I don't really think...
In what religion?
Well,
Christianity?
in fucking all of them. I don't think he has a face. I don't think anyone really puts a face or a figure or a fucking,
Well, I think here's a way that I've heard it being described.
Don't give him a face. They must have a face.
He has a beard in The Simpsons.
He's got sandals. Imagine if he came back, this big alien coming back in sandals and a white robe, and you're like, oh shit.
Well, the way that I've heard it explained is that an alien species came to Earth, put humans here, and like whatever, I don't know how they would have tried to get us. I guess they genetically modified our DNA to fit with the current DNA here, which is where that missing link comes in. And I think they say that we were mixed with the hominoids, with Bigfoot. And so then we were, we brought up here, then we evolved and did what we were going to do, and then it was a huge cataclysmic event which wiped most of us out, and we had to kind of start again. And then the aliens came back to say hi, I don't know. And then from then on, because that was so long ago and everything, they became a myth, and so they became godlike. And because we sort of got brought back to hunter-gatherer days, their technology was so supernatural and amazing that they were became like gods to us.
That makes perfect sense, But I mean, even I've listened to some podcasts on these, people who believe this Anunnaki thing, and I've actually seen it, and once again, you got to try and open your mind. And I don't believe it, but I've seen it. Okay, it's not part of my belief system, but there are goat skulls on Mars. I've seen it. From what I've seen and from what I've been told, and from this guy explaining it, it all seems very reasonable. It's funny me even saying sounds reasonable, but there are goat skulls and these, and these
goats, like earth goats,
earth goats,
have been taken to Mars.
Yeah, taken to Mars, and they can survive there, and
Where have they found these skulls?
On Mars. There's pictures of them from the rover.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen them.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
I saw that mask though. You see, the way I heard it explained was it's exactly the same idea behind why the pyramids were built. It's a marker for outer space, so you can see what's going on that planet. It represents whatever species is there. The things like 10,000 people or something saw UFOs in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. No, there
things like that. Where there's thousands of people who saw the same thing.
For anyone who's not a believer out there is actual full-on sort of communities which have seen similar things, and this is now just part of their daily life. UFOs exist, whether that is an object which is highly advanced, which humans have made and the government's keeping under wraps, or whether that has something to do... So the UFO experience is completely and utterly factual. So the experience that human beings actually look up to the sky and see flashing lights which don't resemble any aircraft, that they know, that is happening all over the world. I can guarantee you right now, as we speak... Yeah. That someone is looking up to the sky going...
What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
You know what I don't rule out, though, too, is that a lot of these things could be us from the future coming back, trying to assist in today's activities.
I don't like that too much, because it's sort of why don't you just come back? I mean, if you know what's happening, then why don't you just come back and just...
Well, I think because...
Fix it right,
because one of the massive things about... the way that things need to unfold is it needs to be free will. Everything needs to be free will. Yeah. Otherwise, it's not authentic and genuine. And that's why... So, I'm going to go over what I think could be the situation with aliens or spirits or whatever. Seems that there are quite a few different species.
Yeah.
We've got the reptilians.
Yeah.
Who apparently they're quite highly evolved and quite intelligent and quite powerful, and they have created the Greys, and the Greys are apparently they're actually not really beings like we are. They're more like plants, they've grown like that, and they're more like robots. They're there to do the dirty work for the reptilians.
Oh, really? Well,
that's what they say. And so usually when you get abducted, that's by the way, abductions, look into that. That's very
really crazy.
Because there are people with thousands and thousands of accounts of people have been abducted with the same account of what happens on the ships, and that's
all over the world. These people have never been in contact with each other. There are absolutely thousands of stories of people with exactly the same story. Unless these thousands of people are liaising through the internet and have some secret underground web which no one else can crack into, and they're talking about and encountering, and there are investigators who just travel the world and they get information through abductions from that have happened to other humans. And they're consistent.
Yeah, there's this one guy
everywhere
who's
around the world.
Very scientific and everything like that, and he's just like blown away by it. He's spent years of his life just getting accounts and put all up and trying to find similarities, and he's just came to the conclusion of like, this has to be real, this thing. And because the main way he gets the information from them is he puts them under hypnosis, and they come up with all this information.
But the main thing, sorry, let me just say this, but one of the main things that comes out in these abduction stories is the fact that people are, when the people are abducted and taken into the spaceship, one of the major things of the spaceship is the person has to try and pick the difference between an alien and a human. Yeah. Pick the difference between, they show them the two aliens, an alien and a human, standing next to each other, and they say, can you pick the difference? And the person is like, I can't see the difference between an alien and a human.
It seems that they
is the overwhelming account of every single abduction. The fact that, you pick the difference?
And it seems that they are very interested in just the DNA as well. They have, and which is related to the being able to see the difference, I think. And they're just, I think they do a lot of medical procedures on them. They make them have sex with an alien, or make them have sex with someone else who's on board. I think it's mostly physical, medical stuff. So there's those, and then there's what the fuck is the other type of alien? Anyway, then there is the Galactic Federation, which is actually a it's a spiritual idea, but this is all one thing, really, it seems. And it seems that the Galactic Federation is kind of like an organization, like maybe that's like the UN, but probably a little bit more pure and actually with good intentions.
Good intentions? Surely not.
Good and evil in aliens.
Okay, yeah.
Just like we do.
That's so there's a dark side. Where's the dark side?
No, that's what I'm saying.
What are they
they're
called?
Just like us.
The galactic fucking...
They're a good and bad.
Cunderations?
No, well, they're just like us. They've got good and bad people within their ranks and whatever. Sure. But the Galactic Federation is an organisation that has the intention of overseeing and assisting evolution and spiritual evolution, particularly on any planet that needs help or that is of interest to them or has extreme amounts of life on it. And they say that our planet is quite rich with life, and they're very interested in seeing us, they're seeing us evolve so that we can interact more intensely with the reality, with spirits, whatever it is, to enrich everyone's life, so and to enrich the universe with our aura.
Certainly. We got the Jedi Council on our side. That's a big fucking help.
Yeah. And apparently you have to undergo stringent tests and training to get into this Galactic Federation as an alien being or whatever. And they say that, so there's lots of Galactic Federationies, employees, currently situated on Earth to assist the people who need it.
And let's just step on that point for a second. There's a lot of Galactic Federation employees. And do you know what, guys? I can fucking guarantee you they don't get paid $1.
You're right.
They don't get paid a cent. And do you know why they do it?
Because they want to.
They want to, and they love it.
Yeah.
And that's
and they work around the clock.
Yeah. They work 24/7. They do it, and they fucking love it. Okay. And that's what we have to evolve to.
Yeah, I think you're right.
No more money, motherfuckers. No more money. Fucking hell.
But then they say that there's dark. So there's the Galactic Federation that are like, let's try and help these humans out or life on Earth. But then there's dark forces, and I'm not sure what these are, or it could just be the same species, but just the shit people, the shit cunts.
Do you know how you have a nightmare? Do you know sometimes how you have a nightmare? You wake up screaming, you feel something bad. Yeah. You feel something bad in the room when it's dark, and you think that there's something in there. Well, that is the sort of thing.
Or when you're in a particularly bad mood for no reason.
Particularly bad mood, and you don't know why.
You could be taking on bad energy around
things are going fucking real wrong. That's the sort of thing that can happen.
No, so they say that these dark energies, they feed off fear, and and they prosper when we don't empathise with each other, and we lose our connection with each other and with life. And so that's why I think this is such an important time at the moment, because it's so clear that we are so disconnected from each other.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the power lies in us and our empathy for other life creatures. And love. I mean, that could be translated to love. When empathy for other life, the love force, that is our defense weapon, the only one that's the best and the only one really that we've got. And so that's why we need to connect ourselves more and more. That's another reason. Yeah. But also tied into that is the reason as to why psychopaths are so useful to these dark energies, because they don't have empathy. So they lack that. And so that basically they're just a vessel for dark forces to work through.
For nastiness, yeah.
Because these psychopaths, they don't have that connection with others to keep them grounded into being able to assess what is actually good and evil, given the connections and network that they have to try and decipher what's good and evil compared to the majority rules type good and evil's view. Do you know what I mean?
So once again, it comes back to the point of corporations being psychopaths, because they don't have a connection of empathy to the human race.
Exactly.
We need to make money. We need to make sure the bottom line is as low as possible. We need to fucking steal, pillage, rape, use the resources, do whatever we can to make sure that we make a lot of money for our shareholders. Bad for the world, bad for the human race.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Sorry, every fucking time I'm just going to keep roping it back in. I think if there's one message that I want to... If I was to die tomorrow and anything bad was to happen, then so long, suckers. But the thing is that if I've done one thing that is made some other person have the energy, the time and the will to be able to relay information to their friends, family, everyone around them, that we need to be able to live in a different system that doesn't need money for our survival. Okay, we need to be able to work together, hand in hand, cooperate without the artificial incentive of having to get up and go to a job to make money. This is what's holding the human race back. This is why we're not evolving. It is a scarcity-based system, and everyone needs to wake up to the fact that this is not how we should be living our life. Thank you.
Yes, that's why I love this topic of aliens, because for me it makes everything make sense. It really does. And like I've been watching some documentaries lately on decoding the Bible. Like when you start to replace all this, look at all the accounts of the encounters with spirits that all the characters in the Bible have, and just assume that they're aliens that they're coming into contact with, it just makes a lot of sense. It makes more sense. For example, let's say the Exodus, the 40 Exodus with Moses, and he was being led by a light in the sky through the desert. That could have been, they said it could have been a UFO. And then when they parted the Red Sea, anti-gravity technology, parts of the Red Sea, things like that. And apparently it was like 3 million people in the Exodus or something, and they were getting fed and clothed and
that's what I mean.
taken care of by this,
that's what I mean.
Thing up in the sky.
And I would be able to sleep well tonight if I knew that was a helping hand from another species. Trying to get this primitive race through this destructive time of the Roman Empire, and just live by whip and chain and fucking living under this economic and military rule of an empire, because that's basically what it was. It was, this person standing up to one of the greatest empires that ever lived. And now we're facing another situation where we nearly need someone else to be able to stand up to one of the other greatest empires that has ever been around, and that's America. We're through imperialist notions of controlling the world through economic sanctions and all the rest of it. I'm not saying fucking everyone else, is doing the right thing, but you see where I'm coming from. We nearly need another Jesus Christ right now. But
it was prophesied that we would have another one now.
But the thing about it
maybe it's Assange. Maybe it's Peter Joseph.
Honestly,
maybe it's Stephen Molyneux.
me and Tess look in our daily lives, and we research in our daily lives for these names and these figureheads that can have some sort of realistic, capability of being able to take us out of this destructive community, system that we live in, and these sort of names, Stephen Molyneux, Peter Joseph, fucking, Julian Assange, are people.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. He's in a different category, but
he's up there.
But he's definitely up there. But
he's doing his bit.
But these people are modern day prophets. They're people that are actually going, guys, this is fucked. This is fucked, and it is fucked. And like everything that you do, you go to the shop, you buy something, and that is. Did you go to that website that I told you today?
Yeah, 49.
49. You have 49 slaves working for you at the moment. What was it called again? I haven't done it yet.
Slaveryfootprint.org.
Slaveryfootprint.org. Tess, could you explain it?
It's a really great website. Actually, it was an idea by someone, and then they actually got picked up from the US government, who actually sponsored them to do it,
wow.
Which I find odd. Anyway.
Someone good in the US government? Good alien?
Appearances, you go on the website and then just go through a series of 11 questions, and they ask you just what your consumer habits are, and then at the end it comes up with an estimate of how many slaves currently need to work to get those products in your life.
Yeah.
And I came up with 49 slaves.
Yeah. Which is, it's just crazy this day and age that there are people.
But it's so true though, with that slavery thing though. Like, what the fuck is the difference between a slave that is, doesn't get any money, but he gets food and shelter, and, they might give him a bath once a week or something, but he gets to live on the farm, and, yes, sure, he gets forced to work, but they do give him some food and shelter, so he gets taken care of. What's the difference between that and someone who is doing something they hate just as much, who has to do it because they need to get the money they get from it to go and buy their food? What's the difference? The only difference is they have to go and buy the food rather than just being given it. Yeah. It's actually worse. They have to go out there and go and...
They have to actually think about that.
They have to, it's putting the workload back onto them.
Do you know then what happens? That's a whole American society. It's sort of like, don't pay your employee because they're getting tips. You know what I mean? It's sort of like putting everything back onto the person giving them the money. Don't clean your roads. You have to sponsor that highway. Sort of thing. It's fucking so stupid. Yeah. Their government does nothing. They just spend all their money on war. Like, it's fucking...
Yeah, that's slavery. Anyway, I know this is off topic, but I just want to say, if anyone has not looked into Stephen Molyneux, please do. I really... I think he is amazing.
Look into Peter Joseph.
I love Peter Joseph, but I think Stephen Molyneux...
I think Peter Joseph is
Stephen Molyneux has it on so many more levels. Like
I've seen a debate between the two.
I know. I love both of them, and I find it hard to think that... I don't think neither of them are wrong in any way, but I love the way Stephen Molyneux thinks. I absolutely think he's amazing, and he's just got that... there's no point sitting here talking about how great he is. Anyway,
please look him up. But these are the sort of people, if you look up, that can really make you change the way that we need to look at the world. Because, guys, like it or not, time's running out. It is, and it's running out for liberty. The possibilities of liberty in the future. It's running out for the possibilities of the environment in the future for our children. It's running out for so many different factors, possibility of nuclear war, this whole North Korea fucking shit that's blowing up. Like, I mean, you know...
I reckon your dream is going to happen. The one with the alien telling
pretty
us
bang
to
on.
go.
Yeah.
Because that's how aliens...
Well, I mean, I may as well
aliens...
say it now that you brought it up. I've had many dreams in my life that have resulted in factual things happening in the future. Hands down, I've dreamt about things that have happened in the future. You know, this is just part of my life. It's happened a handful of times, like 4 or 5, and in one massive instance that you could not decipher in any other way. But the one I'm going to tell you about at the moment is one of the last dreams I had. I had a dream about basically the world, wherever I was in the reality that I was in my head was in chaos. There were people crying and injured everywhere, and then just trying to remember it correctly. And then there was a lot of people dressed in not yet. There was a lot of people, quite a few people dressed in sort of black or a uniform, sort of ushering people away. And there was a lot of destruction and chaos going on. And it was people dressed in uniform actually ushering people away. And then I went up to someone and I said, "Can I help?" And they said, and basically this was a call sign, because this is always a sign that I have any spiritual experience. I look directly into their eyes, like I'm saying up really close, so I see exactly, because it's a window to the soul. So look directly into the eye, and this particular being's eyes were completely black. He had no nose. He had no definitive facial features. His arms and legs and all that sort of thing. But he looked directly into my eye, and at that one point during my dream, this is a very lucid dream, at one point I knew he was an alien straight away, and I said, "Can I help? There's a person over here." There was a person back there trying to help a lot of other people just around him. He said, "Shaun, don't be silly. You just need to basically protect yourself and the people around you through this time." And then when I said, "Okay, cool," I did exactly what he said, because I understood the gravity of the situation. And when I was walking with a line of people, like basically, I think Tess was with me, who is doing the podcast with me right now, and I
just in case you forgot.
Yeah. And then there was a massive amount of rocks, massive, basically, like, I don't know, rocks, meteor shower, volcano, anything, just pelting down and just smashing people and like killing people, and everyone's screaming. And then I've just had to grab Tess and protect her and get her out of the way. But as soon as that happened, and what the main thing that this being did say to me, thank you very much. I'm sure he's out there listening at the moment. But but what main thing? But obviously he didn't talk. He was saying this. There's no mouth movements or anything like that. He was saying this through communication, through mental communication. He did say, "Get ready for the 3 days." Yeah, he said, "Get ready, prepare yourself for the 3 days." He goes, "Shaun, prepare yourself for the 3 days. Don't be stupid. Don't, do anything rash. Just make sure you survive what's going to happen." And so then me and Tess, I take everything that happens in my dreams very seriously. And everyone should. It's a way of communicating with consciousness happening around the world and all around you, and spirits contacting you, and any dimensional beings trying to contact you to help you through this journey, this crazy journey that we experience in life. So what me and Tess did, we went out and brought 3 days worth of food. Quick snap. That day. That day, exactly. And I would suggest anyone listening, go and get yourself 2 or 3 days minimum worth of food. Food, drink, clean drinking water. It's going to cost you $50 to $100 or something. I don't fucking know. But, the fact that if anything goes wrong, you don't understand how fragile a society we have is. Like, it's silly. Like, I mean, this Joe Rogan has 3 weeks worth of food. in his house. Yeah. He says I got 3 weeks. Where, like, I mean, you got very smart people. Like you just don't understand what happened with fucking, Hurricane Sandy. In New York, I mean, the most densely populated, and then bang,
definitely.
Hurricane hits. No, people starving, like in the middle of like the most. It's not
hard to imagine, really. Yeah. You know, you can see it happening. It's happened.
Mm. Oh well.
I think with the good and evil thing, you seem to think that when we get to a certain level, there's no good and evil, and there's no nastiness, no harm. But the thing is,
no, you evolve out of it.
I'm not saying that's not true, but I just don't think that has to be true just because you're able to transcend space and time.
It's not a choice. Anyway. You don't choose. You don't. I don't think you understand the context.
No, I really do, and I disagree with you.
No. It's not a choice. It's automatic. It just happens.
Yeah. Anyway,
You don't go. I feel so good about myself today. I feel so good about myself today because I'm not going to be evil. Okay, that's not the way it works.
I don't think it does. I'm not saying it does at all. I understand exactly what you're saying.
You breed it out of yourself.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It's not even in you anymore.
But I just don't think that the aliens that we're discussing is the point at which that was going to occur. But I'm fucking trying to say something.
Let me.
No, I'm trying to say something.
Okay.
So you're a stickler for, and so am I, and most people, hopefully a lot of people look at life this way. That a lot of the beauty of life and the consciousness getting to know itself through living and expressing itself in all its forms and things happening and people with different intentions. You have life experiences, and a lot of these life experiences, things people go through, are perceived to be negative things, but they're able to spiritually evolve from these things and learn and grow. And these come from acts of evil or harming others, but it actually results in people growing spiritually and doing good tasks. So it's like a balance. The bad tasks bring out the good. So I'm not saying that life can't be interesting and we can't learn from ourselves without bad experiences, because I'm a good example of that. But isn't that something that harm and harming other people can do for you? So who's to say that doesn't go on through all evolution?
Yeah. But
that battle between good and evil.
Yeah. Okay. Also, all right. Well, let me answer that question in a second. Probably you'll answer it with my question I'm going to present now. Is that you say that you love this Stefan Molyneux and Peter Joseph and all these people as much as anyone else. The fact is what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a fair, moral, equal and just society where everyone has a good chance to be able to survive and live a happy, fun, decent life.
Yeah.
It's the whole reason we talk about this change in the operating system sort of shit. Okay, so what you're asking is for there to be less evil in the operating system, because an unjust and unequal operating system means that there's more evil.
I understand what you're getting at, because it's my role.
What we're trying to do is evolve to a point where there's less evil.
I know.
And then should we stop there? Why should we stop to a point where just evolve the whole evil out of the whole fucking thing?
That's because it is my role and Stefan Molyneux's role and Peter Joseph's role to react to the evil that is taking place with the world and try and balance that out again.
Okay.
The only way you're going to have an intention of trying to purify the world and getting rid of evil if there is evil there.
Yeah. But how? Like, we're talking about saying that there might be computer code in the fabric of the reality that we live in. Okay, then at the moment we've got evil like fucking down here and then to the point of the top of the fucking Empire State Building. When really, if you get evil to like nano bits of evil, that's how far evil might go. So when we're saying that we're experiencing evil at such a horrific rate at the moment, and it's getting less and less as we go through. First World War was horrific, Second World War was even more horrific, and now we're at a point where evil is less and less and less, and now we're trying to get to a stage of an operating system where evil's even less and less and less.
Yeah.
Then why doesn't it just keep going less and less and less and less until it's a point of You know, we're just going...
neutrality.
Well, we're living in these utopian beings, but there'll always be evil. It just doesn't have to be a massive amount of evil. It can be just tiny increments, like just tiny little bits of evil that you can still learn off. But because you were born into that environment, you're a product of that environment, that the evil is still there, and someone could say something in a wrong tone, and you go... That was a bit mean. I'm going to learn from that. Rather than someone killing your fucking baby and scalping you and then nailing you to a cross, and then you can go, that was fucked.
I understand, but that's all relative. Your opinion on how much evil is acceptable is all relative. The type of brutality that went on throughout the ages, the last thousands of years, that kind of brutality in evil seemed normal. And now, because we're living in, you and I particularly, are living in such sheltered situation in Australia here, where we don't see that kind of brutality. And so the type of evil that we hear about in places which we aren't accustomed to, like places in Africa where there's the poverty and the starvation that goes on, it's so foreign to us that it seems like such evil is taking place. And what worries me, which I don't necessarily know what the nature of love and neutrality is, and I don't know how much what life would be like without the battle of good and evil, but perhaps the battle between good and evil is actually what gives richness to life, and richness to the consciousness learning from itself, and gives us the ability to show our true colours. I mean, you need to give people the opportunity to do the wrong thing and give people the opportunity to do the right thing. Otherwise, you'll never see what people are truly made of. I mean, I think that it would...
The opportunity to do the wrong thing might be like, well, I need you to go from point A to point B, okay, and you need to find the fastest way, okay? And they might take a wrong turn. That's an opportunity to do a wrong thing. Okay, an opportunity to do a wrong thing might also be, I want more money, and it's going to involve you invading that country and taking their resources. Now, that's an opportunity to do a fucking wrong thing.
Yeah.
So the opportunity
not to do that as well.
The opportunity to do that, okay, it far outweighs the fact you might take a wrong turn. You know what I mean? So
no, it's all relative, though, Shaun.
That may be. It's not fucking all
relative. It is
relative.
all relative. The only reason why you and I are talking about this stuff is because we are reacting to the stuff that other people have done, and where we have feelings about the way that things are. We have feelings, we have conscience, and we feel that we're not happy with the way things are, and we are trying to fight for a way we think things should be. As a reaction, we're trying to balance things out. It's all our opinion.
Yeah, but the reason why we're talking about this is because we're trying to minimise evil. Minimise. And that is never going to stop the more we evolve unless we destroy ourselves first. We always minimise evil. We want to... The more intelligent we get, the more conscious we get, the more sentient we get, we minimise.
I don't even know that that's my goal, though.
That's my goal because I care about my life, which means I care about your life, which means if I'm influencing other people negatively, that means other people are going to influence.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm in your position too, because it is currently my role to have those opinions because of the life that I'm living, and I'm reacting to certain things, and I have feelings about things. It is my role to fight for the side that tries to give everybody happiness and tries to get everyone equality, tries to give people the opportunity to have a happy and comfortable life. But that's just my role. And I don't think that eradicating the other side of the spectrum is my ultimate goal.
But no.
I don't think that's the meaning of life here. We're trying to eradicate one whole side of the team.
I'm trying to say you're never going to eradicate it. It's always going to be.
I know.
Okay.
And I don't think that should be the goal, to try and eradicate the other side. That's what I'm saying.
No. Well,
that's what I'm saying.
In my life,
what you're saying is that you're trying to get rid of evil.
No.
Or minimise evil.
I'm definitely trying to get rid of it. Okay, but in my lifetime, I'm realistic enough to know that that's never going to happen. So, it is.
But you're just settling. Your goal is still the same. You're just settling because you're trying to be realistic. You just go, okay, well, we're never going to get rid of it. Because why? Because it's too hard, or because that's the nature of reality, and that there's always going to be two sides?
No, it's because people haven't realised what is the cause of it yet.
So you're just saying that ultimately it's possible, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, see, I don't agree with that, though.
Of course it's possible.
I don't know that that's the... I get that is your role to have that opinion. And I get that's my role to be fighting for that too, but I actually don't think that overall that is what the objective should be for reality and consciousness.
Of course it
itself.
Of course it is. It can't be any other way.
I think that the battle between the two should always be equal.
Yeah, it will be, but
always
equal to the point of a wrong turn, or equal to the point of harming billions of people's lives. Okay,
yeah.
what's
but the only difference between that is how we feel about that, the magnitude of that. That's the only difference, because it is absolutely. It is an opinion about how bad you think. How is it not? It is an opinion whether or not you think it is worse to kill someone for this reason or kill someone for that reason, or if it's okay to kill thousands of people for this reason or just kill one person for that reason. That's an opinion. It is a complete opinion.
Because you're harming the energy of that.
I know, I agree with that. I think you're harming things, but I still think it's all relative into what you think is culturally and what you're being conditioned to think is normal.
It can't be. It can't be. It's not, because you're harming I can't say it any other way. You're harming the fucking energy of that person, which makes shockwaves and repercussions throughout the fucking cosmos.
But so does the good that comes out of the reaction to that evil. What good
comes out of the reaction to that?
Well, whatever. I can't. There's plenty of... Every single action has a reaction in the opposite direction.
Okay,
and so when you see great evil, you will also see great good.
Eventually.
And so it's always going to be a battle. What you're trying to say is you want to get the swinging pendulum of good and bad, while it's always evil. You want to get it like that. So it just... It has a little bit of a balance, a little bit of evil here, a little bit of good there. But fine. I mean, that's a fine thing to go to. But I mean, that's just kind of saying that
as much as we're talking about deep, metaphorical, spiritual, fucking alien shit at the moment, the facts remain. I'm a human and I like to have fun, and I know the best way for me to have the maximum amount of fun that I want to have, maximum amount of relaxation, maximum amount of enjoyment in my life I want to have, means that pendulum needs to only be swaying a little bit. Okay? It doesn't need to be swaying violently or radically or the world's in war or fucking yada yada. It's just swaying a little bit. So I'm still just a physical...
That's your role.
As much as we're all talking about some deep shit, well, I'm still just a physical human being trying to enjoy this reality that I've got.
So that's why I understand
I need less work, more time to have fun, and fucking, if we're going to live in this stupid fucking, incentive-based system, more money to have fun with. Okay?
Yeah. I agree with you. That's also my intention. But I'm trying to understand it in a broader perspective of that's not the overall objective of life. That's what I'm trying to say. And I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to have dinner. I'm hungry. I have to pee.
Okay.
There you go.
The overall objective of life is to fucking learn from your mistakes.
I'm going to do it.
That's it. Catch your champ. Anyway, this is just a dinner time conversation that me and Tess usually get into. We normally fucking hurt each other's brains with this sort of stuff every now and then. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And, I think, we've done pretty good. My head's actually really hurting. I did a fucking massive 11-hour shift today. And it sucked.
You me?
Hey? No, I doubt it. A massive 11-hour shift and, walked for about 15k and, did what I needed to do to keep the machine running, keep the system running. That's alright. We made it. What did you do, Tess?
I made a really yummy dinner.
Tess has made a delicious dinner for me. As much as we might seem like we argue and fight, we have a deep-seated love for each other. And
we didn't fight. That was a really good conversation.
It was, and we love each other's guts, and we can't get away from each other.
Unfortunately.
But we don't touch each other in any way, shape, or form. We're best buddies.